In this video, we're looking at the rules you need to know when you're dealing with angles. So can you complete these rules? One about angles on a straight line, one about angles at a point, angles in a triangle, vertically opposite angles. Vertically doesn't mean one up, one down. It means they are on opposite sides of a vertex. There are 3 rules that you need to know for angles in parallel lines. And they each go with one of these diagrams. You should be able to identify which rule goes with which diagram. Now pause the video, have a go at filling in as much as you can of these. It's on the handout, so you can print it out. And when you're ready to go through the answers, press play again. First one, angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees or add up to 180 degrees. If you write sum, it's just a bit shorter, but either is fine. Number 2, angles at a point sum to 360 degrees. Because it's like having 2 straight lines back to back, isn't it? So it's 2 lots of 180. Number 3, angles in a triangle, that's another 180. And for number 4, vertically opposite angles are equal. So this red angle is the same as this red angle. This blue angle is the same as this blue angle. With parallel lines, the first one, we're looking at corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are equal. To remember which one is the corresponding angles, look for the F shape, and then think of 2 friends, F for friends, corresponding by writing letters, sitting at a desk writing an old-fashioned letter. The next one, the 2 blue angles are the same and they are alternate angles. So the way to remember this one, or a way to remember this one, is to look for the Z shape and think A to Z. Alternate goes with the Z shape. You must not call them F angles and Z angles. Some people refer to this one as X angles as well. If you do that, you will not get the marks. You must say corresponding or alternate or opposite. Not so bothered about the vertically, but you must say opposite. Finally, we've got co-interior angles, sometimes called allied angles, and they add up to 180 degrees. Because of course this angle here and this one here, which isn't labelled, are corresponding angles. So you've got the F shape here. So if this angle is the same as this angle, and this one are on a straight line, then they add up to 180, don't they? So if this one and this one add up to 180, and this one is the same as the red one here, then these 2 inside must add up to 180 as well. You've got a C shape here. Both angles are on the same side, which means they're allied. Allies fight on the same side in a war, don't they? And they are inside the C shape together. So together is co, inside, interior. And they can't both be the same, because you can see this one is acute and this one is obtuse. So don't make the mistake of saying they're the same because they're in one of the rules. These 2 are equal, these 2 are equal, these 2 are not equal, unless they're right angles. They add up to 180. Now some questions to practice these rules. An example first. So if you were asked to find the values of angles P and Q in this diagram, giving reasons for your answers, this is a good way to do it. Present your answer in 2 columns. So first of all, the calculation or the statement, and then the reason for making that statement or doing that calculation. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, you cannot say F angles and Z angles. You won't get the marks if you do that. You must use the proper terminology. So the solution for this one, we start by saying, well, we've got two angles on a straight line here, haven't we? So P plus the 70 must make 180. So P is 180, take away 70, making it 110 degrees. And the reason for that is because angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees or add up to 180 degrees. Then for Q, we've got the F shape, haven't we? Friends correspond. Imagine those friends sitting there writing letters to each other. So it's corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are equal. So Q is the same as P, and it's 110 degrees because corresponding angles are equal. Okay, now some for you to have a go at. These three, you're finding the labelled angles A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And on this one's quite tricky. I want you to decide which lines are parallel, because it looks as if AC and GD are parallel, and it looks as if BF and CE are parallel, but are they? Try and apply those rules and see if you can work it out. Pause the video, work through it, and come back and press play again when you're ready to go through the answers. Okay, answers then. For question 1, I've given a condensed version of the explanation here, but you do write it out in full if you're doing it in an exam. We've got vertically opposite angles, so A is the same as the 115 degrees. For B, A and B are inside that C shape, so they add up to 180. They are co-interior angles. So B is going to be 180 minus A, 180 minus 115, making it 65 degrees. On the second one, C is 55 degrees because it's co-interior with the 125. It is not co-interior with the 80 because that's not between two parallel lines. Your two parallel lines are here and here. So it's between those two. It's the C and the 125 that are co-interior. For D, we're looking at corresponding angles. We've got the F shape here. It's back to front, but it's still an F shape. So the D is going to be the same as the 80 because these two lines, the two parallel lines of the F, are parallel in this diagram. If they just look parallel but they don't actually have arrows on them, you cannot assume that they are. So that's something to look out for in this last one. And for E, we've got two rules we need to apply here. We know that this is 125 degrees, and this are angles on a straight line, so they must add up to 180. So to get from 125 to 180, we've got another 55 degree angle here, haven't we? And of course that's corresponding to C as well, because you've got your F shape here. So this is 55 degrees. We've already worked out that this one is 80 degrees. And triangle, the angles in a triangle sum to 180 degrees. So we've got 55 plus 80 plus something must give us 180. Well, 55 plus 80 is 135. So you need another 45 degrees to get up to 180. On this one, we'll start with F. Again, angles in a triangle. 63 plus 52 is 115. So to make the angles in the triangle up to 180, we need another 65 degrees. So F must be 65 degrees. Now we've got two parallel lines here. And we've got this F shape lying on its back this time and back to front. There's your two parallel lines of the F. Friends correspond. So the F and the G are corresponding angles, and so they must be the same. So G must also be 65 degrees. And finally, we've got H, and there's two ways you can do this one. You could say 63 and 65 and H are angles on a straight line, so they add up to 180. Or you could say, oh look, we've got a Z shape here. And in a Z shape, you've got alternate angles, and alternate angles are equal. So this angle must be the same as this angle. So H must be 52 degrees. Again, you must have those parallel lines marked as parallel lines before you can apply the alternate angles rule. Looking at number 2, well, if we start with the big triangle, then if this is 30 degrees and this is 85 degrees, they add up to 115 degrees. And the angles in a triangle add up to 180, don't they? So the third angle in the triangle must be 180 minus the 115. So this must be 65 degrees. Now we've got 65 degrees here and 65 degrees here. There's our F shape. The angles are the same, so these two lines must be parallel. So we know that BF and CE must be parallel. What about AC and GD though? Well, if this is 65 and this is 120, they add up to 185 degrees, don't they? And these would be co-interior angles if these lines were parallel. And if they were co-interior angles in parallel lines, they wouldn't add up to 185, would they? They would add up to 180. So AC and GD cannot be parallel. So CE and BF are parallel, but the two horizontal ones, which probably jumped out at you initially as the parallel ones, are actually not parallel. And that's it for this video.